Well, Fauci's financial disclosure is out, and I've read a summary of it by the New York Post. And I have to say, I got to give the guy credit where I can. I don't want to be totally unfair and just be, hate him everything. It looks pretty clean. I mean, the number, I guess the denominator, is pretty, I guess, surprising if he's supposed to be a humble public servant. He has about $10 million in assets, and so it's pretty substantial. I would be curious to know how he accumulated those assets over his lifetime, just being a bureaucrat for his whole life, literally, since I think 2 years after he got out of medical school, he started working for the government. But as of right now, I guess this was either his 2020 or his 2021 disclosure, he looks pretty clean as of now. And I say as of now, I'll get to that in a minute, what's gone on in the past with Fauci. But as of right now, he owns mutual funds. These are not, they're not specific companies. It's not like, oh, he's got 60% of his, net worth in Pfizer. See, he has a huge financial interest in trying to promote the vaccines. It's nothing direct like that. There is no smoking gun that shows that he, is getting some direct benefit. There's also right now, at least according to the New York Post, they didn't report any kind of royalties from the drug companies, which is something that, Fauci had a scandal over this over 15 years ago in 2005. You can find it in the news reports, where he and other doctors were making royalties from drug companies on an AIDS drug, and I'm sure other drugs. This is just, when it came to AIDS, is when it that's when it got a little egregious and offensive to people, that you have the government developing AIDS drugs and the doctors who are doing it, who are supposed to be, selfless and just trying to find the right answer. They're financially vested, or they have a vested financial interest in certain drugs, being approved and doing well. And, when you're dealing with an illness as serious as AIDS, that's kind of, that would be offensive. When you're told, hey, here's this guy, Dr. Fauci, he's here to try and experiment on you, to try and, help treat or cure or otherwise subdue your AIDS. And he doesn't even tell you that he has a financial interest in certain drugs that he's going to be giving you. And Fauci's an old man now, he's in his 80s. This scandal happened when he was in his mid-60s. And so I'm sure he's made plenty of royalties off of plenty of drugs throughout his life. That's probably where that $10 million that he's got came from, for the most part. But as of right now, he doesn't appear to be making those kinds of royalties. And, this is important to point out because we didn't know. And honestly, he's been so resistant. The NIH has tried so hard to keep all of his records sealed. It very much makes me think, especially since, he's lied so much as it is, that there's something here that we're not seeing and that we don't know about. Because if his records were as clean as these appear, what was he worried about? I mean, the only royalties that the New York Post mentions are from McGraw-Hill, which is a textbook company. So that means he probably, they probably did some big spread on him in some kind of medical textbook maybe, or maybe he contributed some articles, and it says that he was paid between $100,000 and $1 million, which that's a pretty broad range. I'm not sure where that range comes from, but that's what they said. But there was nothing about royalties from Pfizer, or royalties from Moderna, or royalties from any other, drug companies. And apparently, starting, I guess, in 2009, the NIH began a policy of reporting the royalties that doctors are being paid. And who knows how comprehensive that is, but I would guess that Fauci probably, tied up and ended the royalty bandwagon, or the gravy train. Back then, he probably made a lot of money by that point. He would have been in his late 60s, I believe, by 2009, probably said, you know what, I've made enough royalties. I don't want any of that publicly disclosed, so I'll stop here, I'll renounce all my royalties, and then I'll look totally squeaky clean to the public. Now, with all that said, does this really change anything? Does this give me a better opinion of him? Not really. I guess it's possible before there was a chance that he was more corrupt and, a worse guy than I thought he was. And I guess, now he's only as bad, or he's only as bad as we knew. You know what I mean? Or I shouldn't even say that, because who knows if these records are comprehensive. Like I said, it's very fishy to me that he and the NIH were so resistant about this. I mean, it's like he's a public figure. You should be very comfortable with having your financial, your financial records public. So I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't say that this is case closed. But even if it is, I don't think if he was pushing drugs that worked well and really helped people and did everything that he says they do, I don't think I'd care if he was making a bunch of money off of it. Even though he is, a government employee who's not supposed to be, doing that sort of thing in theory. But if he was, and it was helping a bunch of people, I'd say, who cares? It's we're better off having him. But fact of the matter is, we're not. This is a guy who wants to destroy our lives. He's covered up all the lab leak stuff that he funded. And who knows, maybe Senator Roger Marshall's bill, the Fauci Act, I believe it's financial accountability for individuals under, what's the rest of it? He came up with a funny acronym to call it the Fauci Act. I don't remember the exact acronym now, but it was supposed to be about making people like Fauci reveal their financial records. I don't know if that bill passing would make Fauci have to disclose more than he already did. But, who knows? I mean, there's so many ways you can hide these things. Shell companies. I mean, it would be very easy back, let's say, in 2009 for Fauci, when he knew that the disclosure, the royalties was going to come through, he could just, transferred all those royalty rights into some shell company, funneled all the money into there, pay for expenses out of there, go on vacation with that money, buy houses with that, whatever. And so who knows? You can't really get much out of this. So with that said, I will see you folks back here tomorrow.